Now, I have to admit as a preacher that it gets sticky with the Gospel of John. It's just difficult. And then throw this wisdom literature in today makes it even harder. But let me start. Many of you were familiar with and have been to the Religious Education Congress that always happens around February or March. And especially at the youth conferences, it was typical for one of the priests or preachers to get up and say, "God is good," and the people would shout, "All the time." And then he'd say, "All the time," and they'd shout, "God is good." Now, where does that come from? Well, we have, I'll say, even bloated ideas about God, that he's eternal, he's forever, he's full of goodness, he's always loving. And we just have automatic responses about our concept of God. It's been formed over hundreds and hundreds of years. So then we have a reading today, in this first reading, from wisdom literature, and it looks like it's telling the future. Listen to what it says. "Let us see whether his words be true. Let us find out what will happen to him," whoever him is that they're talking about. And then it says, "For if the just one be the Son of God, he will defend him and deliver him from the hand of his foes." It says, "Let us condemn him to a shameful death." Sounds like the cross. "For according to his own words, God will take care of him." And then it talks about being raised from the dead. So the people ask, was this written hundreds of years before Jesus about that? Well, maybe, but probably not. It probably was written about, well, all kinds of believers. The concept that God could raise people from the dead didn't happen just because of the resurrection, but because people believe in his almighty powers. So I think all of us say, I think everybody here believes, of course we're going to rise from the dead. Not physically, not come back on earth and walk around physically, but our spirit will be raised from the dead and we will be eternally with God in heaven. Is there anyone who doesn't believe that? That's our core belief. So after the fact of that, we begin to read things into the scriptures that maybe weren't there. For example, it says in the gospel today that the Feast of the Tabernacles was near, but when his brothers had gone up to the feast, the brothers of Jesus, I thought Jesus didn't have brothers. Mary is ever virgin. Well, I was talking to someone this morning because I write a reflection on the scriptures every day, and it goes on our Facebook page, and I also send it out as an email to some families, because there's a big family, a huge family, that every day or 3 times a week now, it used to be every day, they gather for the rosary every day on Zoom. So there are people up north and down here that pray the rosary, just like Remy's family does that too, and they're from different countries even. But then 3 days of the week, they do a reflection on the scriptures of the day. So part of my writing is for them. So I got a phone call this morning because today's the day when they would do their sharing. And the person said to me, "Why does it say his brothers?" And then I was trying to explain that, I think probably for Filipinos it's true. I know it's true for Latinos. It's even true for this white boy. If I go back to Kansas, where all my family comes from, I was born here. Everyone's my cousin back there. I mean, who's that? Oh, it's one of my cousins. And I think the Filipinos probably do that, and Latinos, when you go back to your own hometown, especially if it's a small town, everyone's related somehow. You just know it. Oh, yeah, that's my cousin. Oh, that's one of my cousins. And whether they're first, second, third cousins, who knows? But so that's how they were in Jesus' time, my brothers and sisters. But then this person said to me, because every Tuesday, I have some priest friends that I've known for 50 years. I was in school with them, in the same class with one. And they come over every Tuesday and we have dinner. And so a lot of times I'll say to this person, "Oh yeah, the brothers are coming over." Well, they're not my brothers, but they are kind of my brothers. And so we refer to each other as the brothers. But not only that, doesn't maybe every person here have somebody, a friend that is so close to them that they will say, either he or she, oh, he's more my brother than my brothers. He's not my blood, like my blood brothers, but he's more of a brother because there's a deeper trust or a friendship or intimacy that has developed over the years. They know more about me than my own brother or my own sister. Well, that stuff is written through these scriptures. And when we get to John, it gets a little more confusing. But there's one more thing, and I'm saying this just to appreciate because it gets real thick during this time as we get closer to the passion and death and resurrection, and then afterward, the Easter stories. It's so infused with John's gospel. The scriptures are difficult sometimes, especially the gospels, because things are written in the gospel that says this was said that maybe it wasn't said. Maybe it wasn't said, but it got written after the resurrection back into the stories that were written 30 years after the resurrection. You know what I'm saying? Jesus died, rose, ascended to heaven, and for 30 years, Paul's out preaching and writing letters to communities of Christian faith, and then the Gospels got written, and part of the reason was Paul even thought that Jesus was coming back any day. Get ready, he's coming. Get ready, you better be ready. He didn't come. It's 2,000 years, he still didn't come back yet. So when is it supposed to be? So they said, aha, we better write down his word and his teachings and what happened in his life to preserve it so that people, if he doesn't come for a long time, and they're probably thinking 20 or 40 more years, and here it's over 2,000 years, well, thank God the Gospels got written so that we have a text, a book, a story written down that we could always refer to and be united in that story. So maybe Jesus didn't say some of the things that the scriptures said he said, but after the resurrection, when they when they talk about, he says, I'm going to have to die, they were confused. How could they possibly understand what was going to happen to Jesus? Well, what's he talking about? Even that John passage he says, I'm going to have to go away now, but I'll come back for you after I've prepared a place for you, and then one day I'll take you with me. Read it at most of the funerals. Thomas, what is he talking about? And then Jesus says in that passage, you know where I'm going. And he says to you, you can follow me. And Thomas says, Lord, how do we know, how can we follow you? We don't even know where you're going. And then Jesus says that famous line, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the way. Follow the way. They still couldn't understand that. So did Jesus say it? Well, maybe. Maybe not. It's only in John's gospel, so Matthew, Mark, and Luke never heard of it. But after they experienced that, and more after they experienced that, and we'll hear through the Easter season all the appearance stories, then maybe Jesus says, I am the way, this is your way, but this is your way too. Follow me the way, the truth, and the life. And to write it back into the gospel as if he said it, even if he didn't, it makes sense. It helps us to appreciate that and that more if we're told earlier in the story than Jesus once said this to Thomas and the other apostles. It doesn't matter if he said it or not, because that's the truth that we understand now after having experienced that and that. So I just say all this because these scriptures get really thick and juicy and tasty and heavy and difficult. And I would dare say, if any of you ever take the task one day you want to become a preacher, get ready, especially if you're reading the Gospel of John, because it's difficult, it's challenging. But today, what's most important about it anyway is at the very end that after this, they wanted to kill him. And then he says this line. He says, my hour, the hour, has not yet come. And what is the hour that he's referring to? It's that one. It's that one. That's the hour. And that's the hour. This 3-day period is the hour. It's not 60 minutes. It's his hour of time. It's the moment that everything is going to be resting on, his death and resurrection. That's the moment. That's the hour, and that's the hour we celebrate in faith all the time and know that after we die, we will celebrate it in the fullness of life.